Thanks for dropping in. If you're an 80s kid who loved construction toys, there's a chance you might recognize this. It's a connector piece from a Pipeworks building set. Each colorful connector uses plastic detents, which lock into longer pipe segments. With just a few clicks, you can quickly build anything from a lemonade stand to a car. The extremely questionable condition of these toys is a testament to their decades of use and durability. Unfortunately, the toy was discontinued, and used sets are extremely pricey. I think it's time for a 3D printer to do its thing and create a new pipe construction toy, both for old nostalgic builders like me and young builders who are just beginning to learn the joy of the phrase, "some assembly required." So I set myself to the task of modeling something worthy of this beloved toy. And after a solid week of printing, I've amassed quite a collection of pipes and connectors, an even larger collection than my original kit. As an homage to the original Pipeworks, I decided to reference their color scheme. White for pipes and eye connectors, blue for L connectors, yellow for T connectors, green for four-way connectors, red for corners, and orange for hinges. But I didn't stop there. As a kid, I always thought the toy was missing a few options. So I also designed an X connector and this modified hinge that could snap onto pipes. Because these were 3D printed, there were a few manufacturing limitations to overcome. Tight clearances are always tricky with 3D printing, so I wouldn't recommend this project for printers that aren't able to handle clearances less than 1/4 of a millimeter. If you're unsure, try printing the eye connector and a short pipe. If the two parts slide together easily, you should be good. But make sure to test both ends of each piece. Chances are, one side will be tighter than the other due to elephant's foot. That's a phenomenon where the bottom layers of a print get squished on the printer bed. The next challenge is overhangs, and these parts are full of extreme 90-degree overhangs. While you could take care of that by printing with supports, that wastes a lot of material and printing time. In addition to that, I hate removing supports, and I'm terrible at it. To solve this problem, every connector was sliced and diced into smaller bits that can be printed support-free and then glued together. To help with aligning these bits, each part has unique alignment pegs and insets. These won't hold the parts together, but they will help you get all the pieces into the right orientation. All these parts might look daunting, but even the most complicated connectors are still easy to assemble, so I printed a few extras to show you how. For this project, I'm using 3D Gloop. Superglue will also work, but this stuff is absurdly strong, and only a few drops will fuse the parts together. Let's start with the L connector, which has only 2 parts. I found that it's easiest to apply the glue to the side that has an inset. Just a drop is all you need. Then attach the pieces while letting the peg and inset guide the alignment. It also helps if you hold the parts flat on a surface to eliminate any unwanted twisting. After 15 to 30 seconds, the connection will be strong enough to hold together on its own. This does mean that you don't have much time to fix a misplaced part, so check twice and gloop once. The T, X, corner, and four-way connectors work the same way. Lay the parts out, make sure you know which peg goes where, add a bit of glue to the inset, and carefully press the parts together. The hinge connector, on the other hand, is pretty tricky. Since there's no inset to add the glue, I apply it to a small lip around this part. Make sure to get really good coverage. Fortunately, even with this minimal surface contact, the two parts will have an extremely strong bond. Did you notice what this design is missing? The original Pipeworks had that detent mechanism to lock the connectors and pipes together. While I might try to replicate that functionality in the future, the truth is it's not a great fit for these smaller 3D prints. So instead, I tested a few alternatives, and I found 4 good options. The first option? Do absolutely nothing. Depending on your printer, the friction that comes from closely fitting 3D printed parts may be sufficient. This is especially true if you're building something with a lot of reinforcing pieces. They all work in tandem to keep the assembly together. The next option is Tpu Rivets. These squishy rivets press fit into the connection holes to lock them into place. The rivets take only about a minute to print, so it's easy to make a ton of them. Do not use this option though if you're making this toy for kids. TPU is not food, and the rivets are really easy to lose. If you'd prefer to use PLA or PETG, consider this option. These lock rings snap around the outside of the pipe and create a shockingly rigid connection. In retrospect, I think these would have looked better if they were the same color as the pipe, but I'm really happy with how well they work. A neat trick with this design is even though it holds the pieces together really well, a little twist will cause these hooks to disengage, making the ring easier to remove. For the fourth option, I created an alternate pipe design. These clamp pipes flex slightly to latch onto the connector. This is a good option for children because it doesn't introduce any extra parts, and the clamping force is weak enough that a child could pull the pieces apart by hand. Oh, and here are two bonus options. You can use wire ties or long M3 bolts. Either will thread easily through the holes in the pipe and connectors. I'm not sure if this should count though, since they aren't 3D printed. But in the spirit of construction toys, use whatever you have on hand. I still have a few parts from the original kit I'd like to replicate, so expect to see this project pop up a few more times. I also have plans to design some completely new parts. I'm thinking pistons, gears, curved pipes. There are a ton of options. Let me know if you have any ideas you'd like me to try out. They may become part of this growing project. So until the next video, happy printing, happy building, and thanks for stopping by.